Cut out the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is a Monday Mayhem special. I want to share with you thoughts from around the world about SHTF. And I've got to tell you, you're not crazy. I know I'm not crazy. I know I'm not a criminal. I know neither are you. But if you oppose the evil New World Order, Zionist takeover of our government, our healthcare, our military, our educations, our economies, our overall lives, well, guess what, folks? You're going to get hated. Now, the rest of the world is waking up. In fact, I'm going to read to you someone else's, shall we say, satirical interpretation of the war on Iran, just to demonstrate to you guys that you're not crazy. Here we go. Oh, I'll tell you who wrote it after I read it. The Iranian Navy, which has been destroyed 8 times, closed the Strait of Hormuz again because the United States, for the 7th time, won the war that wasn't a war. So the United States can open the Strait of Hormuz that was open before the not war. That's right, folks. The not war that started to get the uranium that was completely obliterated last June so that the Iranians can't build a nuclear bomb that they weren't building for the not war that the United States just started. Then the United States, which has nuclear weapons, threatened to use these nuclear weapons to prevent Iran from having nuclear weapons, because having nuclear weapons is dangerous. If the United States saw what the United States is doing in the United States would invade the United States to liberate the United States from the tyranny of the United States. That was written by some character named Mohammed Safa. You see, you don't have to be a satirical American. You don't have to be an incurable skeptic. You don't have to be a, intellectual giant to see what the United States government is doing at the behest of Israel's demands, because they're all blackmailed as pedophiles and fraudsters and criminals and drug-using scum. Right? Everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. In the comment section, put your comments, your thoughts, and everything in all caps if you want to be on the screen. On the screen. Badass Froggy. That's pretty funny for Diving Frog. I feel a little froggy myself, but you'll notice it's somewhat better. I'm more interested today in just kind of staying on this topic of the world is seeing what's going on. And funny, Americans are seeing it too. A lot of times in the past, America has had a moral high ground, and they pointed out what other countries are doing wrong, and it was hard to argue with that. I can do that right now. In England, they're allowing Muslim rape gangs to continue to exist, proliferate, kidnap, and rape underage girls that are white because they don't want to appear Islamophobic. That's the claim they make, which is almost as ridiculous a concept as letting your own country be invaded by foreigners so that you can replace the population, the native population, because these foreigners will be easier to control. The world is absolutely insane. Literally insane. The world is waking up, folks. I just read to you clearly something that, well, came from someone in the Middle East, Mohammed Safa, someone who's probably Muslim or Muslim sympathetic. It's easy for them to look at what the U.S. is doing, point out the hypocrisy. That's how bad it has gotten. That's how bad it has gotten. In England, you cannot walk down the street carrying the English flag. It's insulting. It causes anxiety amongst the Muslims. I watched a video of a German woman trying to get a Muslim out of her face who was demanding that she stop saying no as he was demanding to have sex from her. Because he said his needs, his sexual needs weren't being met, and it was unhealthy for him. That was his justification. He would not go away until a white man came over and called the police. The threats, the demand to allow him to rape her. This is the world, folks. And the governments think it's fine. What's incredible is there's people that actually think this way. It's unbelievable. Now, is the problem really the Muslims? Is the problem really Israel? Or is the problem our own governments? In England, your problem is the English government. In Germany, your problem is the German government, mayors. And the same goes for any European country. Your problem is your government and also the European Union bureaucracy. In America, our problem is the government at the federal level, the state level, and the local level. Just today in Florida, it's being reported that a girl who was in a private group chat made a joke. I think she was asking Netanyahu to send a couple of bombs to a speaking center. Well, they've come and arrested her, and they put her in front of a judge who just happened to be Jewish. And the judge, right, they want to lock her up for anti-Semitism, for terrorism. Meanwhile, you have fat-ass Randy Fine, the Hebrew Hammer, a congressman from Florida, a big fat fuck who says that it was fine for everyone to get killed in Gaza. That's not terrorism. That's not supporting terrorism. That's not supporting genocide. You see, there's nothing but bedlam and mayhem out there. And we're sitting back watching it happen. Well, in Ireland, they're definitely fighting back. So let me just go with this. The world is waking up. Germans, the English, they are wanting to join the Irish in protesting the left-wing World Economic Forum and their bullshit. What are they doing? Well, it's all tyranny, folks. Vaccines, taxes, carbon dioxide footprint, diversity over the homogenous native populations. So the Irish have Irish. The English have English. The Scots have Scots. In Canada, we had Canadians. In America, we had Americans. Color didn't matter on any of that. The French have French. The Spaniards have the Spanish. The Germans have the Germans, the Swedes, etc. There's nothing about color. It's about culture. But they want diversity, not just a different skin color, but a different culture in there. And they're giving them preferential treatment over the native populations. The state wants to continue to use its power to destroy us all, not just Europe, not just the United Kingdom, not just America. The state wants power to destroy us all. And clearly, I think we can all see that this is a problem that the whole world is facing. You're not right. You can't criticize Israel, even in America, without being called an anti-Semite and being threatened by the Anti-Defamation League that they're going to find out who you are and they're going to ruin your life. Right? How dare you say we have the power as Jews to take away your life and destroy everything? And for saying that, we're going to use our power to take away your life and destroy everything. Right? They're making the fucking point. They truly are. You're not even allowed to criticize the foreign rapists, the foreign murderers, and the foreign fraudsters, right? Hell, we can't even criticize pedophiles who have kidnapped, groomed, raped, sodomized, hunted, sacrificed satanically, and then eaten children. The United States government, the U.S. government, the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, the FBI has pictures. They have videos. They have emails, text messages, all manner of correspondence of very powerful rich men and women doing those things I just listed to children. But you're not allowed to ask for the answers, for justice. Trump called us morons, idiots, fools, falling for a hoax and a scam. Really? Well, you are certainly not allowed to criticize Muslims, Jews, Israel, or any protected class of people. Right? The homosexuals, transgenders. Why do they get preferential treatment? Where is it in the Constitution? I'm asking you folks. Where is it in the Constitution that it says faggots cannot be talked about, laughed about, jokes made about? Where does it say the government has the authority to silence you on any topic? It doesn't. It doesn't. Comments in all caps down below on the YouTube channels so I can see what you're talking about, what you want me to talk about. Now, back to this censorship, this silencing. The First Amendment is the First Amendment, right? And I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to have a government that grants special privileges to people who claim to be victims. We are all supposed to be equal. Well, that's not how it's working out, is it? Faggots, trannies, Jews, Muslims, pedophiles all get special privileges, while tax-paying Christians get raped, get attacked, get murdered. So the question I have to ask you today is how long? So how long? How long until there's violence in the streets, folks? And people don't just protest, but they start killing the bad guys. How long until the bad guys? Right? I don't think just anyone should die or be killed because things are bad. In fact, I'm not promoting or asking anyone to commit any act of violence or lawlessness. But I'm asking how long until there's violence on the streets? Because people are tired of what Israel is doing, what the Muslims are doing, what the Indians are doing, what the Islamification is doing, what the Israelization is doing, what the Zionists are doing, what the pedophiles are doing. That's why they're hiding their names, folks. That's why they're hiding the pedophiles' names, their identities, is because they know the government doesn't want to prosecute and that ultimately it's going to get violent and they want to hide their buddies. Now, let's just go back down to the regular level, right? How long until there's violence in the streets and the bad guys start getting killed, right? The people who want justice, the people who want their country back. They could shoot police. They could shoot judges. They could shoot politicians. They could shoot religious freaks. They could shoot Zionists. They could shoot homosexuals and trannies. But guess what? I think that would just set off an even bigger war. That won't solve our problems. I think then after that starts, things could get really, really crazy. I think it has to, because the pedophiles aren't going to turn themselves in. The government's not going to do anything about all the trannies and the faggots and the Muslims. In fact, Israel owns our government at the state level, the local level, and the federal level. So, right, we know whose side that they're going to place themselves on. They're going to put themselves on the side of we're the government, right? How long until violence breaks out? Next year? Is that soon enough? How about when you, your spouse, or your child is attacked? How about violence breaks out when someone you know is raped or murdered? How about a private organization backed by Israel, funded with your own tax dollars, gets you fired from your job, has your bank account closed? How about when you are harassed by local anti-Americans and the police make sure that you aren't allowed to protect yourself, or they threaten to arrest you for complaining about other people threatening you? Folks, England is already there. Everything I just read, getting fired, unbanked, arrested, harassed, the police banging on your door because you complained. England is already there. So what you know and I know and all of us know all around the world is that they're planning on bringing that everywhere, to Canada. It's happening in Australia. It's all across Europe, but they want to bring it to America. Yep. You know why? They wanted to do a test run on the rest of the world to see how much people would tolerate before they started fighting back. Well, they're starting to fight back in Ireland, aren't they? And the English and the Germans and the Americans are supporting the Irish because we know governments are corrupt, lying, satanic pieces of shit. But this is why they have a special hard-on for America. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. So why is anti-Semitism being pushed? Laws against it by our government. Semitism is not a religion. But we have all these anti-Semitism laws, and they're trying to make it worse. Let me continue. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Right? They've established laws respecting an establishment of religion. The federal and the state governments are punishing anyone accused of Islamophobia. And they're respecting these Sharia law pushing punks and giving them their own communities. With respect to the Talmudic Zionists, they are bribing our government officials. They are controlling them with control files. They are using known criminality. John, what do you mean that known crime? How could there be known criminality and they're not being arrested? Yeah, great fucking question, right? They've got all the Epstein files, the tapes. They have been commanded by a law. Turn those tapes over. Turn the information. Turn all the Epstein files over. Make them public. Congress passed a law. The president signed it, but the Attorney General's office is refusing. The same motherfucking piece of shit. What's his name? Todd Blanche. Piece of shit. He was Epstein's own personal lawyer. He was the guy in government who arranged to have Jizzy Maxwell taken from a top security prison in Florida and moved to a fucking Club Fed in Texas. I think she's even been given a puppy. The same cocksucker is the Attorney General for the United States of America, who says he's not going to obey the law and court orders to release all the Epstein files, you know you live in a fucking tyranny. You know our government is run by satanic, evil, corrupt pieces of shit, all of them. We all know it. In England, you complain, they'll just take you to jail. But the First Amendment, folks, freedom of speech or of the press. In California, they're trying to pass a law to criminalize investigative journalism. Journalists who are out there finding the crimes, reporting the crimes, exposing the crimes, the politicians who are tied up, in bed with, part of the conspiracy to fucking steal everything they can. They don't want those crimes exposed, so they're criminalizing the First Amendment. Hell, they're trying to criminalize the Second Amendment too. The right to keep and bear arms says, shall not be infringed. It doesn't just say, well, maybe someday you can infringe it, just not for a little while. No, shall not. Shall not means shall not. All right, let's continue, shall we? You know, this crap. You're not allowed to protect yourself. In fact, somebody had a bunch of thugs break into their fucking garage. They were coming in the house. The homeowner kills the motherfucker. And now they're getting prosecuted. The government says, well, you used unnecessary deadly force. As if you could look at somebody who's breaking into your house, pounding their way through the fucking door, and you're going to ask them, do you intend to cause great bodily harm or injury? Do you intend to cause death? As if you could trust their answer. They're fucking criminals. They're breaking into your house. If you watch people getting their asses beat on the street, getting their face literally kicked in dozens of times, people getting killed, this is just a street beating. What do you think they're going to do to you in your fucking house where no one can see and probably not even hear it? So the question is, why do you have to prove that you felt threatened enough that you had to defend yourself with deadly force? Well, you shouldn't have to, but the government hates the Second Amendment. It hates your First Amendment, right? So just remember this. There's no saying shit about Israelis or Jews. Don't say a fucking word about Indians and Pakis stealing jobs, committing fraud. Don't raise your voice about thriving pedophile politicians who increase their power, increase their influence. Don't raise your voice about them. Oh, right now, today, it's come out. It's come out. The alleged sexual crimes and activities of congressmen and congresswomen, both Democrats and Republicans. I'll give you a Republican one. Nancy Mace is being accused of having a lesbian relationship in her office by her own staff. Well, breaking the law is breaking the law. But there were dozens of names, folks, and they're coming out, and they should. But don't you dare say shit about these pedophiles, these perverts, these drug users. Don't you dare say anything about Indians or Pakistanis. Don't say anything about Muslims or Jews. Oh, no. How dare you say something that just might cause other people to wake up, look around, realize what's happening, and start defending your country and demanding that they fix the problems. So I lean over and I look at you and I say, ask yourself this. If things are going to get violent, when the killing starts, do you expect things to get better or worse? I expect it to get worse for everyone but the bad guys. That's how it's going to start. But once it starts getting violent, I expect it to get really bad for the bad guys, because people are going to start pointing them out. pointing out who they are and what they've done. I think the anti-Americans that are in Washington, D.C., the anti-Americans that are in the state capitals, the anti-Americans in our hometowns, I think they're going to get zero sympathy. These anti-Americans are the evil fucks, folks, that we have been screaming about getting out of government and putting them in jail or hanging them. I'm talking about the pedophiles, the politicians who commit fraud, the ones who are raping women and girls, stealing property, attacking Christians, wrecking our country. All the anti-Americans, I think, are going to get zero sympathy once it's pointed out and we find out who's on whose team. The anti-American scum are the ones who will claim they're the victims. That's what they do now. And they use that to get away with all their crimes, because that's what assholes always do when confronted with their crimes, is they pretend to be victims. I'm not calling for violence, folks, but I am asking you to think about what happens when violence and vigilantism takes root and grows. I really think it could. I think it should, because there's no other way. We have tried. We have put up with evil for a long time. You could say we've been putting up with in our face, anti-American, destroy our country evil from Waco, Ruby Ridge, the Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11, piece of legislation that was completely terrorist and unconstitutional was the assault weapons ban, the federal assault weapons ban of the 1990s. I'm not calling for violence, folks. These people in Washington and the state capitals and your local town hall, city hall, county building, whatever, they are pushing for this. Look at the school boards out there, folks. What are they doing? They're pushing homosexuality, transgenderism on children. They're putting pedophilia books in children's libraries and classrooms. That's who we're talking about here. I'm not calling for violence, but I'm asking you to think about what happens when violence and vigilante takes root and grows. A lot of innocent people will be hurt. Will you be ready up here to deal with it on the news? Will you be able to deal with it, what you hear on the radio, your local television, or what you see with your own eyes driving down the street? Let me put it to you this way. Let me ask you a question. If you're driving down the street, let's just say it's a big street, 2 lanes going each direction, and you're driving from work and you're heading home, and you look across the lane and you see a bunch of white people on the sidewalk, and they've got a bunch of people who are obviously Muslim based on the way they dress, and they've surrounded them, and they're beating the shit out of them. Are you going to be upset? Well, of course you're supposed to say you're upset, right? You're supposed to say that. You're supposed to think that. You're supposed to act like that. That's awful. How terrible. How racist. How will you know once the violence starts that those people that I just talked about got out of line, and finally Christian Americans stood up and said, enough of your lawlessness, your criminality, you bringing out swords and machetes, threatening people, following women, committing fraud. We've had it with your shit. And since the government won't do anything about it, we, the people, will. There's going to be a lot of people upset. What if you see a gang of homosexuals, say 10 of them, and they've got a man and a woman, and they're beating the shit out of them on the side of the road? What are you going to think? By homosexuals, I mean they got green hair, purple hair, right? They dress in homosexual garb, rainbow shirts, pride flags, and you see them getting beat up. Are you going to stop and help them? You know the people that are doing the beating are freaks, because they are freaks. And they've demonstrated that they are disgusting human beings. They adopt little boys and girls, and they rape them and even kill them. They push for grooming children. They push for pedophilia. They commit mass murder of Christians and non-homosexuals. You're going to tell me they're good people, huh? See, I don't believe it. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe their shit. I don't have to believe their story. Do you? Again, you're just driving down the street. What happens if you see a dozen cops beating the ever-loving shit out of a bunch of regular-looking people? You just drive on by? Remember, this is after the violence has started. After you've heard of vigilantism, people being dragged out of their homes and shot, people being dragged to the police station and the people demanding they be locked up and charges pressed. Oh, it's going to take all manner of forms. Right? What happens when this starts? What happens when you see it in the street? It's a scary world, folks. Definitely SHTF, Mad Max, vigilantism everywhere. Let me ask you this. What if you see a gang of 6 Jews and they've got their little yarmulke thing on their fucking head, their little hat? So that helps you identify who they are and what group they belong to. And they're fighting 6 Christians. 1 black, 1 Hispanic, 1 Asian, and 3 white guys. When you see that, what are you going to think? What are you supposed to think if you got 6 people beating on another 6 people? You're going to see groups, right? You know, these are hypotheticals, and I'm not calling for violence. I'm saying, what will you do when you see that? Who will you know is the good guy or the bad guy, or will you not know? Now, my thought is sometimes I'll know, other times I won't. But I know right now who the evil people are. They're the anti-Americans, people who hate our Constitution. They want to silence you and shoot their fucking mouths off. They would have you arrested if they could. And they will have you arrested as soon as they get enough of this bullshit passed and the public doesn't reject it. The public allows it to happen. And now we've set a precedent that the police can arrest you for saying something that offends one of the protected people. No. See, that could cause people to object to the police and start taking vigilante justice out against the police. You see, that's the problem we have, is we know who the pedophiles are. We know who the anti-Americans are. We know who's here to destroy this country. They tell us. They spend money on it. They write articles and books on it. They go on television and talk about it. They go on social media and talk about it. That they're not making jokes, that they really want to kill and exterminate the white race. They want to kill and exterminate anyone who subscribes to whiteism. That includes all you black, Hispanic, and Asian people who want to be civilized and share our good fortune and our lives in America. That's who they are, folks. They would love to turn the police on you. And the police, God bless them and their low IQs, they're just there doing their job. They're not supposed to question the Constitution, even though they took a fucking oath to uphold and obey it. They like to say, well, policy's different, so we'll just do as we're told. Well, if a dozen police show up and 100 American patriots show up, everyone's got guns. Who is right? I'll tell you. Might makes right. Ultimately, it does. You see, the symbols of strength, the symbols of the state, is a police car, a flashing light, and a badge. And because of that police car and flashing lights and a badge, we respect the fact that they're carrying a gun instead of pulling our own gun out and saying, OK Corral, is that what time it is? You see, so people understand the power of the state. But when the power of the state is outnumbered, now we have might makes right on our side. And they have a uniform that makes it easy to identify them. Like I said, I'm not calling for violence. I'm not calling for vigilantism, but I believe it's going to happen. When regular Americans who wanted to be left the fuck alone, who wanted to work, didn't mind paying a little taxes, but wanted to enjoy their beer or their scotch or their wine, who wanted to have a barbecue in the backyard with fucking briquettes, who wanted to drive their car down the street without being annoyed and pestered, who wanted to mow their lawn when they felt like it, not when the fucking HOA said so, who wanted to share their opinion regardless of what any Zionist or Israeli or Muslim or fucking screwball on TV decided, no, you're not allowed. This is where it's leading, folks. It's leading there. And this tension, in my opinion, is exposing itself on a daily basis. I think one of the areas it expresses itself or shows itself is all of these youths who are fighting everywhere. Whether it's in Miami Beach, it's in a mall in Atlanta, right? It's in New York City. Okay. I think they're fighting, all of these kids, whether it's a small fight or a big fight, whether it's at a vacation destination or in some city. It's because they don't have respect for themselves, our culture, our laws, our Constitution. And the police won't do anything about it. They'll claim they can't do anything about it. Because you have people like, BJ up in Chicago, the mayor, or Prickster, the governor, or out in California, Gavin Newsom, right? They allow criminality. And like a child that isn't given, these are the rules, this is how we do things, and they learn the line between what's allowed and not. These people, these kids, these youth groups have not been told no. They were never taught where the line is, and so they're going to continue to fight, commit flash gang robbery. They're going to continue their racist attacks. Same with the Muslims. All of them, because they're anti-American. They're anti our laws and anti our culture. So I'm not calling for violence, but I will tell you, the time is going to come. Nikki writes in, I think COVID-19 was the same, John. One moment here. I need to check on something. There we go. Make it a little smaller. She says they need to test to see how much sheep would take and what percentage would comply. Well, they found all those things out, didn't they? Who will stay locked down? Who won't say anything? Who is going to come out of their house when they're told to stay in? Who is going to follow the arrows in the store? Right? Who is going to do as they're told? And who isn't? We found out a big majority of people, especially when they had their jobs and their careers threatened. You bet. They know what percentage will comply. But here's the problem. Is human beings are thinking animals, if you will. You know, they're thinking goyim. They'll figure it out. Well, shit, last time we complied, they just locked us down more. Last time we complied, we found out it was just a fucking flu. Last time we complied, they destroyed everything. So fuck that. They send a cop to harass you. What are you going to do? You going to defend yourself or allow them to arrest you? Allow them to beat you down? I don't fucking think so. Right? I know where I'm at. Where are you at? That's what this whole conversation is about. Where are you at? Are you going to comply? Have you had enough of this shit? When you see lawlessness, what are you going to do? When you see innocent people being attacked, whether it's by a gang, another religious group, the protected class, the fruitcakes, or the cops, what are you going to do? See, I would like to think that if I were arrested and I'm not a criminal, it would be a complete political arrest to silence me. I would hope somebody would show up and get me out of the fucking jail. I would hope. All right. Thank you, Nikki, for that. Let's see here. Who else has something to say? Let's see. Nikki says, I don't respect those sawed off daddy or mommy didn't love me enough. Clown costume wearing, constitution trampling, revenue collecting motherfuckers. Ask me what I really think. Well, apparently I did ask and you wrote it down. The reason I put Nikki up here expressing her opinion is because I know that's how a lot of people feel about government overreach, government abuse of authority, government trampling of the Constitution. The faces that you and I see are the ones on the street in front of us. You see cops. They could be good or they bad, in your opinion. In either event, that's how you see the law being applied to you. Whether you jaywalk or rolled through a stop sign, whether you were speeding, right? You're seeing this person there wearing a gun saying, I'm with the state and I'm going to make your life more difficult now. Right? That's where we're going with all of this. But we know who the real evil bastards are, the anti-Americans. You know who they are? District attorneys, judges, state legislators, and of course, governors at the state level. All those people are in cahoots. City councilmen, right? County supervisors. They are there to make your life more fucked up. And they don't care because they're going to send out some less than 100 IQ policemen to fucking enforce rules that are unconstitutional. Do you think the redcoats, the British redcoats, the military that was here in America in 1776, do you think they gave a fuck but what they were doing was wrong? Nope, they're just doing as they're told, just like the Nazis were. They did what they were told, but we were told that's no excuse. You should know as a human being the difference between right and wrong, between what is good and what is evil. That's what you're told. You, my friends, and me, we are told. You have to know the law, every law. Ignorance is no excuse. Yet we watch cops every day violate the law. We listen to district attorneys and judges let criminals go. We listen to legislators doing what? Writing laws that they know are unconstitutional, but they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. Because all of those other people know the police will just go out there and put the hurt on people. And when the police aren't enough, they'll send in the National Guard. I'm not calling for violence, folks. I'm saying violence is coming. People are acting out against each other. And typically, the lower the IQ, the more willing they are to get violent. At some point, everyone is going to be willing to get violent. Because violent people only understand violence. Intelligent people understand intelligent discourse. But when, shall we say, violent, unintelligent people refuse verbal discourse, then intelligent people only have one option, and that is to get violent themselves and speak a language that all the other violent morons understand, whether they're on the street or whether they're government employees, agents, and officers. Are you ready for that day? Are you ready for that day? If somebody has something to say, oh shit, it's 4:20. I made it all the way through the fucking day before I realized it's 4:20. I guess happy weed day to everybody. But be sure to have a prescription for it so you don't get arrested, for owning a plant. Wow. Okay, folks. Hey, I'm going to cut her off early. My voice is better. I want to preserve it. We've got this long week, and there's some stupid shit going on. And we're talking stupid. Allegedly, Trump wanted to open the nuclear football, and get the nuclear codes out and nuke the fuck out of Iran. Apparently, there was a general there who disagreed and stopped it. That's how fucked up things are, folks. I'm not calling for violence, but the people that want to ruin our country and take peace from our world, those people are evil, and they have the authority right now. Wake up, educate yourselves, wake up others and help them get educated. But most importantly of all, get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. And this is a great point. Laws are the opinions of politicians backed by the threat of force by police. That's it. Facts are facts. Right? We all have opinions. My opinion doesn't change anyone else. We're all supposed to respect each other. Government does not respect us, and they violate our laws daily. There's only one way to fix it, folks, and it's not voting. It's not standing on the street corner with a sign. There's only one way to fix problems when they get this bad. Get yourself prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine. This is the one. Self-defense. To defend yourself, your family, to defend your community and your country from all of the un-American, anti-American, satanic evil fuckers out there. Godspeed, Semper Fi.